And we're in.
How's it going, boys and girls? People around the world. This is Thru Port Collective, and we're here to talk to you about music and production and technology and all that good stuff. I'm Marshall. I'll be hosting today's show, and with me, I've got my two pals, Cryss and Tim. So let's go around and just get a quick update from you, Cryss. How's it going?
It's going well. So, other than a little setup issues here that we've been working on, but it's been a good week and been working hard with the Tempest and some stuff that Tim sent over. So, been having fun.
Awesome. Tim, what's happening, man?
Oh, I'm just joining this fun party. Yeah, we definitely going to do a collaboration. We got started, and I gotta figure out. I have a really long delay again, another like 200 millisecond delay. I don't know why, but anyway, yeah, we're here to talk collaborations and some gear.
Yes.
And do our thing.
Let me try something and take off the. See, maybe try to stop your screen share and see if that is a source of a problem. Maybe.
Sure.
So while they're just doing that real quick, just want to give a shout out to Paul in the chat. What's up, Paul? Anybody else who's joining us live, please be sure to say hello. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're just getting off the ground, so the more of you that can join, the better, you know. So, yeah, today's episode, we're going to talk about collaborations. Us three plus Jamie of GeoSense have done a collaboration together from the Team US from his podcast. We're going to kind of go over a little bit of the track that we made initially. And then we actually have a new track that we just kind of started on as well, another collab with the same four guys. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if we want to talk about any of that, but we can if we want to. And I think in the interim, there's also a little bit of gear news that we're going to get to.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, I'll just mention too, like on the if anybody's a member of the Hydrosynth official Hydrosynth Facebook group, they're doing like a giveaway with the T-shirts right now. And Glenn gave me a couple T-shirts when I was at NAMM, and they're very nice. I gotta say, like these are the nicest gear T-shirts I've ever had.
Glenn Darcy, yeah?
Yeah, Glenn Darcy, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually get these gear T-shirts that have cool printing on them, but they're kind of crappy and cheap. This is like the nicest T-shirt I have.
It's like my UnoSynth T-shirt. They sent me, IK Multimedia sent me a shirt because I made some videos on the UnoSynth. I mean, it wasn't solicited or anything, but they were like, hey, we saw your video. We want to send you some stuff, some swag.
Nice.
It's already like faded. I think it's only been washed a couple of times. You know, it's not like I wear it all the time, but it's already faded. So that's cool that they gave you a high quality shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really find gear shirts that are super high end.
If I have to go to a funeral or something, I'm going to wear this. Maybe a jacket over it.
Yeah. I mean, that is a nice looking shirt.
It is. It is. I do have the desktop, but I need to sell it. But I've got the, I don't know if you can see behind me. There's the deluxe.
Oh, you got the
behind me.
deluxe.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's cool. I hate how they wrote deluxe in cursive.
That's where you set your laptop or your iPad.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. Can't you just like make it a cool font? Why does it have to be some stupid cursive? I don't know.
It's retro, man.
It looks like completely out of place with the rest of the design. I'm like, this looks weird. Anyway, yeah, Cryss, you guys want to talk about some gear? What do we got?
Yeah. Well, I've got this queued up. Let's see. I maybe let Tim take this one. It's
Yeah, definitely. This is cool. So for those of you into Eurorack and Modular, this is a really cool case that's out. And I will be able to share that little 40-second little ad for it coming up. But it's 104 HP, so it looks like it has a total of, well, there it is. It looks like it has a total of like 18 modules that you could power up. It's powered And it has all the utilities across the top. So this is really cool. It's got a handle, it's got all its own power, and it has the utility section across the top, which is especially cool. So it has in it, it has a mixer, it has 2 LFOs. It's like a 4-to-2 mixer, 4-into-2. It's got, I'm not staring at the screen of it, but what else it has? Let me look at that.
Here's the top of it.
There you go. There it is. So yeah. There now you can see what all it has. It's very, very cool. It has like a sample and hold function there. It has, you can actually do some voltage combination, which is great. And then it's got mults, which all the stuff, for Eurorack is really, really super helpful. And to have it all just kind of built in right across the top and then your modules line up underneath it is really a smart design. So this is a new piece. Yeah, I think it's about 700 if you get the full-blown one US. I believe that's right.
Let's see, 649 euros.
Yeah. So something like around.
Up here
I like the way, I mean, you know what it looks like? Just cosmetically, it kind of reminds me of an old boombox.
I mean, it totally does.
I think
that's what I thought too.
I think that's a cool design.
I guess I'm thinking a new trend, like you're walking around with your Eurorack.
And you're like walking with it on your...
Oh, yeah.
Look, ladies, want to hear my modular? Don't have speakers on it, though.
Well, that's the thing. See, Bose needs to now make, right? It would have to be Bose. Bose makes some little Eurorack, speakers that you put in there.
Oh, really? I think they should just put like stereo speakers on the ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool. I think we should do that with $1 million idea.
I mean, it kind of is actually when you think about it, because I think the sort of person that this is going to really appeal to will be the person who wants to sit on a rock, by the ocean and make, kind of ambient stuff and whatever, but be out in nature. It's a very portable thing. Obviously, you can take it to the club or whatever.
It has a handle on it, so
yeah, it's got a handle. It's part of that boombox aesthetic.
Well, they would need to have a module that has a built-in cassette player, so you could do cassette looping and things like that.
Yes,
yes. Kind of like mechanical tape delay or something that you could
there is a module that has an actual tape running around inside of it, like an old Echo Flex.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I believe there is such a thing. So there you go. Somebody got hip to that and said, "Yeah, look, all these people just using old crappy cassette players. Let's put it in a module."
Yeah.
And, I can't remember I am thinking one that's got like a tape delay in it, and I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, but they made stuff for guitar, and so they had a pedal version of it first. And it wasn't until a lot later that, of course, then it showed up in the Eurorack, which is a smart thing to do. And some of the guitar pedal companies have been doing crossover stuff. So, of course, Strymon is doing it now. Yeah. And there's quite a few other companies that have kind of made the jump over, which it makes sense. It makes total sense that they would do that.
It does. It's really a smart move, because especially a lot of those are already proven, effects and whatnot. And so, make them available to people that do modular. It's a great idea. And so that you don't have to have a pedal board that you also drag around with your...
So quick question about this here, Tim. Does this come with a set of modules, or is it just the case with what's installed at the top there?
Nope, it's just the case. It's up to you to fill it up how you want.
All right.
Yep. And so it's 104 HP. So it's up to 18 modules is what the bus power has. So that's pretty great. I mean, if you could even, 18 modules would be sort of amazing. But you could just do a real great basic all-in-one rack and take that around. And that's obviously their concept here. So when I saw that, I thought, we need to talk about that on the show, because that's just a really concise all-in-one piece. Yeah, that's great.
Steve says in the chat that the T-Rex replicator was the tape thing.
That was the one that I was thinking of, because they did a lot of guitar pedals.
Okay.
Right on.
So,
okay, yeah.
I have no idea. I don't have any of this stuff, so I don't know. But I have a buddy who keeps telling me, need to get modular, and I'm like, well, I think maybe it'll be time soon. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, you made the first step into semi-modular.
Oh, but I
That's
mean,
right.
yeah, I've had a MS-20 Mini since those came out, so I mean, I've kind of had at least that
Mhm.
to kind of scratch that semi-modular itch, which I don't use it that much. But that 2600 is
Oh, and that's exactly what got me into experimenting with modular, was the fact that I had these semi-modular things and all this CV interconnectivity, and then I was trying to get the matriarch to do a particular thing, and it just wasn't doing it. Like, the LFOs are great, but they are kind of limited in what you can do and what type of waveforms they use and whatnot. So then I started looking around and sniffing around, and it was all there in modular. It's like, oh man, I could just put a little rack right by the other semi-modular sense and off to town.
Yeah.
Here we go. And so that's exactly what happened to me. It was really just things that could modulate and mangle and whatnot, my regular sense, the semi-modulars. But now it's kind of like I have a lot of fun just doing things with just it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, speaking of semi-modular and the 2600, I mean, one of the tracks that really was one that got me into synthesizers, it's, back in the day for me, it wasn't like Kraftwerk or Tangerine Dream or anything. Like, I never heard of those bands, but it was actually Frankenstein by Edgar Winter Band.
I was going to see I thought you might say that.
It was probably like about third on or fourth on the list, but that was one that every time it came up on the radio, it was like, damn, why doesn't anybody do this anymore? And that whole center section where he's going kind of nuts on it, man, that's a great song.
It's a really cool song, and it's instrumental. So how weird, because you can count the number of instrumental hits on one hand.
Yeah,
it's not not really a popular thing, but that was so cool. Like, got everybody's attention, and definitely was a 2600.
So I'm gonna try to get the next one up here since I'm figuring this out here still.
Cool. Yeah, I was, I grew up in the 80s, like I was a little kid in the 80s and in the 90s. So like my hero was like a lot of the pop acts from back then. But I was a big fan of like Michael Jackson, and I would pick out the electronic sounds in his stuff or in other stuff for the day. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what it was. I thought they were just keyboards. I didn't know that there was this whole. When you're 7, you kind of don't really.
Right.
I'm like, I got a Casio at home. Cool.
Yep.
So speaking of modular here, let me pull this back up. Another one that Tim sent over was this, the AJH Synth Mini Mod.
Yes.
And let me play a little bit of the video. Let me know if the volume's okay.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It's good, yeah.
Sounds like modular. Is that a little condescending?
That's funny.
That's cool.
So we got to skip to like hours later when they've actually got it set up.
It took them 7 hours to plug in the cables. That does sound good.
All right, so let me pull it back up here. We'll talk about what is this thing?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, a CV LFO is what that is. And yeah, I think it's really, really cool because This is kind of an alternative to, say, maths or something of a module that's any kind of can be an LFO type thing. And the cool thing about this is it's got a really nice variety of waveforms there, wave shapes to use for LFO. And then the multiply knob, obviously, it does exactly what it says. It's just multiples of the division of the beat, which is cool. And then that waveform twist definitely is interesting. All of these things being able to be modulated by CV is kind of the killer thing here. So you can get some non-regular occurring waveforms, which is, see, that for me, that's what makes this piece really interesting. Actually, is I love LFOs, but when they have a repeated frequency, it gets a little boring to me. I mean, it's kind of cool. Sometimes that's what you want, but other times you want something that's a little more, that morphs kind of back and forth, a little less predictable, almost chaotic style.
That's cool because because you can basically hook that up to anything you want within your setup, right?
Right.
This or that with the LFO. Because when I think about stuff, since I don't have any modular gear really, I think about stuff like the Moog One, where you can set. It's got multiple LFOs, but you could set one LFO to modulate another LFO, and then you can adjust things like the amount and the speed on the one that's modulating the other one, and so you can get some kind of cool craziness that way. But not all synths are going to be as dynamic as something like the Moog One either, So this is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So this kind of gets that going on right away. And I don't remember what the price was. It seems like it was pretty reasonable, but it's got, obviously tap tempo or clock input and then clock out. It's got a lot of features on it. There you go. Bye.
Download the latest price.
Oh, well. Yeah, there you go.
Tim, black or silver?
Well, that's a great question. Here's one thing I've learned about modular is I love the classic black look, but if I start getting my vibe on in here and kind of turn the lights down, it's way easier to see the faceplate of the silver. Yeah. So almost, and I like the look of the silver. So almost from a practical standpoint, if I have a choice, I would probably just choose the silver. Even though the black looks kind of classic, the silver it just functions better. I can just see everything better. Yeah.
Yeah, at least it's not Roland where they create a glossy black panel with red lettering that's like impossible.
That Roland guy sometimes, I don't know what he's thinking.
It's like, do your eyes not work? Can you not see how that's a problem?
For real, that's hilarious. Yeah.
I tell you, I had this, it wasn't by some like indie designer. It was TC Electronic, and I had this delay pedal that was kind of a somewhere between mustard and gold color. And they chose, which would have been okay. You think like, well, you're going to put black writing on it, right? They put silver writing on it.
Oh.
And midday, you had to get down and kneel down above your pedal board to see what it said on there, much less, read it from standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silver disappears in the sunlight like in 2 nanoseconds.
Well, one of the things I like about this module is, from both angles on it, is that with the waveform twist on there and giving you access to all these crazy waveforms, really unique, interesting, rhythmic things, that there's a certain amount of, kind of chaos can be introduced into your sound. But then with the tap tempo and also being able to clock it and the multipliers, that you can pretty quickly take something that's, in that chaotic element that's rhythmic and actually have it sync to everything else that you're doing. It's, if you want to do something more than just like very spaced out ambient stuff, like this would probably be the module that would help you get there.
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine not being able to sync something up to. When stuff gets too out of whack, it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, this definitely has that ability to, clock in and out. So there you go with that. But also like the waveform out is cool because that's where you could send that out and generate some rhythms based on the clock that's coming in, right? So then it can really kind of generate rhythms that you could use to drive drum sounds. You could drum modules, which is cool, and still have like a backbeat going somewhere. So that's what I like about it is. While it can do wacky stuff, I think you can really corral it and make it do some really useful sounds. And so this is the kind of module that's always on my radar. I'm always looking for that because it's like, oh man, I could really use that.
So
anyway.
Do you have anything kind of like this currently, or like what are you rolling around with for VCOs right now?
Well,
maths, I should say.
For an LFO, for maths, definitely maths. Really, that's not true. So I do have this chaotic LFO generator, and it's interesting. It's called Chakwo. And anyway, it does like, it's chaotic. It kind of wants to repeat the little pattern, but every so often it'll flip it a little bit and change it. And it keeps just doing that depending on the level of depth that you have. It's strictly it's called a quadrature oscillator. So it basically has like 4 LFOs that you can do. And then it has like the inverted version of it, the straight polarity, the inverted version of that, one that's off like 45 degrees, that type of thing. So you can actually have things kind of pumping rhythmically. That's a cool piece. It's weird to use. It's hard to get to wrangle it in, but man, it's a cool piece. I really would like to have, there's a thing called data that's just basically a readout of what's happening. Like a little,
almost like an oscilloscope kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like an oscilloscope, exactly. Yeah. And so you can just, plug whatever your modulation source is into that first, and then run it on to where you're actually going to use it as a destination.
That's cool, because then you get some visual feedback on what.
Yeah, then you can see what's happening, because it's on. I love the Chakwo, but it's really hard for me to understand how things are interacting, because they really do. You start turning up, just like for instance, there's something that couples the waveforms, and then I don't know what it's doing. I'm just kind of turning it until it's completely by ear at that point. And I think it would be helpful to have that readout, that sort of oscilloscope data.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I have in the way of LFOs.
That's all there was. Is there any other gear news we're going to touch on, or are those the only 2?
Yeah, we got a couple more here. So this one I wanted to share because it's called PlugInfo, and it's for Macs. So it runs on both Intel and the Mac Silicon processors, but it's you can get it in the App Store or from this website. I mean, from this website here, which is the thinkersnacks.com, is the developer's website. It's Lady Gaia on Gearspace, if you've seen her around. And so the thing I like about this is it's one of those apps that, I mean, it's only $2.99 if you buy it. You can get it free on the website, but it's one of those like very handy apps. And so what happens is like you pull it open and you'll get a screen like this here, except it'll have all your plugins. And within less than a second, it scans thousands of plugins or whatever you have. And the thing is that you can see everything, all the information about your plugins, also like, what type of, it's an audio unit or VST for Pro Tools, whatever, the architecture. So you can see if things are ready for, like on here, you can see whatever this one is just Intel for Mac, but this one's ready for Silicon as well. So I got it this week and have been using it. I've spent a few hours with it, going through, like for one thing, I only use one source, so I only use audio units because I'm in Logic. So all these installers that download the stuff for Pro Tools and the VST and VST3. It just like loads your computer up. I mean, not that stuff's taking up a ton of space, but it's stuff that doesn't need to be there.
Right.
And so you're able to go and really quickly, it'll take you right to the place that plugin is at, and you can go nuts wiping stuff out. And also you can see one of the things is like for updates to see what version of the plugin you are, instead of opening my DAW and the plugin manager and going through and finding it, I can find it here really quickly and with the search function. So again, it's not one of those things that's super sexy. It's not a, it's not a new synth plugin or something or delay or whatever, but it's just so useful. And as we talk about like making music and using our gear to its full potential, this is something that really helped me kind of go through things. And then also kind of seeing, because sometimes, in your list of plugins that you have, you forget about things that you have. And also, looking at the stuff that I had, it really kind of, I use it as an opportunity to make some considerations. Am I going to use this one more or that one? Okay, I'm going to make the decision and I'm going to get rid of this other one so I can stay focused on the ones that I'm going to use.
Yeah, Go ahead.
All right. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just seeing how that's really a utility tool right there, like how useful that could be. Definitely not sexy, but that's not the point. Like you could definitely clean your whatever drive you're using for plugins, man. You could really keep that running streamlined.
Yeah, I found it to be quite a helpful tool. So, I just wanted to give a shout out and let people know about it. Hopefully somebody else will take advantage of it too, and, keep your system a little bit cleaner.
Well, it'd be nice if they made a Windows version. That's the only thing I'd say that kind of makes me a little chapped, because not everyone's going to use Mac.
Yeah.
Right? But I can definitely see the value in that as a utility to, like you said, kind of find some of the stuff that's maybe running that you don't need to have running, especially if you're running into issues with performance on your machine. I mean, seems like a cool utility. Thanks for bringing that up, Cryss.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and that's definitely Mac only.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know if the developer works with Windows stuff at all. It'll be cool if she does. I just got the delay there. What happened? Anyways, yeah, I don't know if she works with Windows or not, but yeah, it would be great if something like this came to Windows as well, because it's again, and for a few bucks.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
definitely. That's cool. Good find.
I dig.
So there's a discussion going on GearSpace about it right now. If anybody wants some more information, you can go to the website or go check it out on GearSpace, and the developers there and talking. And she's been very helpful with getting things set up and also adding features to it as well. So one more, and I have a particular reason why I wanted to call some attention to this. So simply, it's the Wampler Metaverse, no affiliation with Facebook or any other, but Wampler is an American pedal company, and they've really, the guy that is the designer owner is a guitarist, so I think they've largely marketed to guitar players. In fact, I tried to see if I could find a sample of this on YouTube with a synthesizer, and I couldn't find any, unfortunately. But it's a interesting delay pedal, and some of the features that are also very like synth friendly is it's got both stereo ins and outs, which a lot of pedals you don't see with the stereo in, and that makes it nice because even as a guitar player, if I set up something stereo, like a lot of them only have mono in, so you're trying to decide what you want to be in stereo, and that's always a bummer unless you have something like this. But this is nothing really new. It's a multi-mode delay pedal. As you can see, it's got a whole bunch of different delay modes and can save presets and tap tempo, all the regular stuff, trails and MIDI. So it's a very versatile. This would be something that would be in competition with like the Strymon Timeline or perhaps some of the other stuff like Maris and whatnot. But what I thought was interesting about this, and there's been other people that have done this, but I think it should be done more, and I'm always kind of wondering why more people don't do it. They've taken this pedal, and when you buy the pedal, you get the plug-in of all the different delay modes on there for free.
Yes.
So you got it on your guitar rig, but when you go to record, you can add it a little bit later in the chain or something, or use it for your other instruments, vocals or whatever. And another great thing about this is if we go here, is that the plugin, you can actually just buy the plugin for $50.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. Like, can you just buy the plugin?
Yeah. So like I said, there's been some other people that have done things like this, but it's just kind of surprising that with digital pedals, that there's not more people that are offering them as plugins, because there are a lot of times, like, unfortunately, this delay pedal is pretty expensive. It's $349. And, you know, like, well, I've got some delay pedals and I'm not willing to put down a huge chunk of change for another delay pedal. But at $49 for some cool sounding delays in plugin form, that would be much more enticing to me.
That's probably why the other guys don't do that. Because, I mean, honest, like, I don't use plugins for a reason, because they're a pain, and you can only use them one time or set them through, you know, an auxiliary bus or something. But a plugin is much more versatile. I can put that anywhere, like you said, in the production chain of what I'm doing. And I don't know, I just prefer, especially in the box, I just don't, me personally, like, I don't see the appeal unless there's a specific sound that you're getting out of the hardware that you can't get through software. I don't understand the point of those personally.
Well, I have to agree with you that there's a lot of guys that buy, you know, Strymon pedals for, like, say, their synthesizers, and I love Strymon. I've been playing them since the beginning, but I use them in my live guitar rig, not really recording, because I've got plugins that do everything that they do. And you know, when it comes to some of the reverbs and stuff, I actually like, say, some of the Valhalla stuff even better than Strymon. So given the flexibility.
Yeah, it's probably just the production workflow, or whatever you're doing. I guess for live with guitar, especially, or even some synths, it'd probably be fine for live stuff. And maybe just my brain doesn't work that way very well yet, because I don't do a lot of live. And even when I do live stuff, I'm still processing through Ableton. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
You're muted, Tim?
I'm sorry, I muted myself. Yeah.
What you got there, Tim?
Oh, I was just saying I could definitely see that in a live setting for sure. But then also, like, if you get hired to do session work, something like that, you might drag it around in your rig, because whoever's engineering might not have the tone that you're after, and you've really worked on. So you could use it in that setting too. I was just laughing because you guys were talking about it, and I have a Big Sky right here.
Oh, yeah. When I say
is it hooked up? No.
No. It sits over here doing nothing most of the time, because I have Starlab by Strymon now, which is kind of like, it's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Big Sky. There were so many, ambient demo synth vids. I mean, it sounds awesome.
It does. It does sound great.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Strymon has been one of the companies that has really straddled the guitar and synth markets very well, and it's done fantastically well. I don't think anybody's covered both markets so well. Sorry, you were saying, Tim?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's exactly when they came out with the Magneto delay, I was just instantly like, oh, that's going in Eurorack right now. And then, but I still had, I went on Reverb and bought the Big Sky used. I just found somebody that had it used, and I was like, well, let me check it out. because I hadn't used one before, but I've heard, in guitar rigs, guys using them all the time. So, but then when they came out with this Starlab module, it was like, well, there you go. So now Big Sky's sitting around. I guess I'll probably keep it because I might want to use it live, but then again, I could just drag my Eurorack out.
Yeah, I mean, I got to keep them around for all the guitar stuff. So I have a few pedal boards laying around here of different sizes, depending on kind of the size and what I need to do. But yeah, Big Sky, Flint, Deco, Dig, what's Zelza. What else do I have? I think I've got one or two more, and then I picked up a used Starlab also pretty recently.
Nice.
So I was like, well, I don't really need it, but I was quite interested in having it in my Eurorack just for that, because sometimes there's that having it all together just makes it a lot more convenient.
Absolutely, yeah, and being able to modulate things with CV, I mean, that would be awesome to use that VC LFO that we just looked at and modulate Starlab with it. You could do some really cool stuff,
Yeah.
Marshall, you had a funny thought you were going to share.
Well, I was just laughing at Napalm in the chat.
Oh,
he's not a fan of Wampler apparently. So.
Oh, gotcha.
And I've never heard of this company or heard any of their stuff, so I have no idea.
Yeah, they're pretty big and well known in the guitar world.
Okay,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I'm curious from Napalm why he doesn't like them.
Tell us, give us your feedback. Why?
How did they hurt you?
That's funny.
Is there any more news?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
You guys want to move on and talk about collab?
Yeah,
Collabs, collaborations. All right, guys. So yeah, a few weeks back, myself, Chris, Tim, and Jamie of GeoSense did a collaborative track. What did we call it? Truth and reconciliation.
Truth and consequences.
Truth. I'm thinking of the Halo mission. Truth and reconciliation. Right. Halo Combat Evolved. I'm old. Anyway, yeah. So it came together really, really great. And we're working on another collaborative track, but we figured this would be a good topic to kind of bring up and talk about, because it's something you're going to run into most likely is working with other individuals on tracks or stuff that you bring people in to work on, with you or whatever, however it comes about. So I guess, how do we want to do this? Do we want to play a little bit of the finished track and then go through, or how
should we play it all the way through just so we can hear all the parts?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be great, and then we can circle back and talk about picking it apart.
Okay.
Excellent.
Coming up here. And we'll go. Sorry about that.
There it was.
Yeah, so much fun.
So cool. That turned out way better than what I had in my head the whole time. And you guys did an excellent job. Just want to give y'all kudos.
Yeah, kudos all around. Kudos all around. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
How we want to break it down? You would just talk about like how it started?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually I've got some examples of like the portion that I did that I kind of go through quickly for you.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
So, Chris, if you want to make me big, I'll switch over. So the thing is that we kind of started talking about doing a collaboration. I believe, Tim, it was your idea, actually, wasn't it?
I think it was. Sounds like one of my cockamamie schemes.
I think you kicked it off and said, "Hey, let's start working on a track." And hey, Marshall, how about you make a beat and a bass line? And I was like, "Cool." And I was like, "What should I do?" Because I'm primarily into techno and trance. I didn't necessarily want to force these guys into that, genre. So what I did is I actually went through some older stuff that I had done several years ago. I'm talking like over a decade ago, and back when I was working in Reason, and I found this track, which is called Scrap 77. Just doesn't have any name or anything. It was something that I kind of started, and it didn't really go anywhere. But here's the Reason rack, and I can play a little bit of how that started real quick. And make sure this is soloed. All right. And there it is in all its glory.
Nice.
So you can hear the bass line's kind of not the best, and I had some piano and some strings that I was working on at some point. Anyway, the percussion is what I really liked about this track. So what I did is when I was going through some old stuff, I was like, I think I could rework a bass line for that percussion. And it's a good tempo, but it doesn't lock you guys into a specific genre necessarily. And so that's where it started. So then I took Reason and I pulled it into Ableton, sampled the whole percussion sequence, and I can play you how this came out after that. You hear some bass there, and that is Synclavier V from Arturia. And the other bit of bass is also Synclavier V. And I'm using the BlueArp plugin to sequence the bass line. And that was kind of how I did it. So, and the BlueArp stuff is cool because you can control plugins or hardware. And you can see if I can get it to catch up. Or maybe it's... And that's pretty much it. So that was my contribution and kind of started things off. And then these other gentlemen took that and took it to the moon, which is excellent.
What you provided though, Marshall, was like the perfect thing because it set the tone of it, and we knew we could make it. We could kind of run with that, but also like you insinuated a form. You were already kind of giving us little things to follow just with that bass line.
Yeah,
that really gave us like a kind of a song form right away, and we didn't really stray too far from that. I think in some edits maybe some things were kind of moved around here or there, but mostly it was that. Like that was the perfect skeleton to put some bone or some flesh on.
Some meat on, yeah. Yeah, you guys did great. So, who wants to talk about their parts?
Well, let's back up a little bit with Tim because I mean, since we are talking about collaborations in general, I mean, like, where did the idea come from? You brought it up to us. I mean, start from the beginning there.
Sure. Collaboration is something I always enjoy exploring, and it's risky business. if it can either fly or it can crash, you know, it can go down in flames. But if you kind of know the people and you have a sense of how it could go, then you're usually all right to do it. I find collaboration it's the synergy of whoever you're working with that takes whatever you were doing and goes, oh wow, now it's over here. That's cool. I would have never have thought of that. And that's the part of it that excites me and keeps me still asking people to do collaborations
Hmm.
and co-writing songs. All of that. It's just kind of just makes a cool stew happen. So that's why I wanted to try it. And but here's what's funny too with Jamie from GeoSense. He had asked me if I wanted to maybe do a collaboration for him, and so I was like, "Yeah, that's a cool idea." But it basically got me thinking, "Wow, we're Team US. We should do this." Like, especially knowing Cryss, what you could bring to it, and with guitar elements and all that you could bring, and then Marshall with your background of, being able to create some slamming tracks, and then my sort of interesting spice that I would add to it, and then Jamie himself
Hmm.
doing using his own pads that he's done sound design of, and it just seemed like that's going to work. I think it's going to work. So that's kind of how it came about. It just felt like, that's a pretty good team. Let's do it, and then if we love it,
Hmm.
we can play it, we can talk about it, and we can do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of excited when the email came over. I thought, oh yeah, this will be great, and it'll be fun to work with you guys. And so I think what was next as we were talking about. So Marshall came up with the drums and the bass, and then Jamie and I were kind of up in the center. And then so we, hearing the drums and bass, and I was already starting to formulate a little bit in my head as to maybe what direction to take it. And I was thinking about kind of the different ways, and I was actually thinking of like trying to anticipate what would come from the synthesizers. I was thinking about actually going for a lot heavier guitar that would be a little more in the back, and then before I got to any of that, Jamie had done his part and sent it over, which was all of those really nice sweeping pads, and I think there was some arpeggio stuff as well. And so he had put at least two parts into it: the sweeping pad and the arpeggio. And I can't remember if there was something else on another track or it was the arpeggiated track, but he had brought those over, and it kind of shifted my perception of what the track would be.
Yeah,
Uh, be, which has been one of the fun parts of this project, is because just when you think it's going in a direction, it changes direction again. As
And I,
far
I
as
th- yeah, and I thought it was cool how, because like to me when I wrote that and was working on it, kind
uh-huh.
of had kind of a dark, tone to it. And when he layered in those pads, it gave it more life and made it feel more like, I don't know how to say it, like not as dark. If that makes
yeah,
sense.
Yeah, if I recall, you had done more of a Phrygian bass line where it had like a flatted second in it,
Yep.
and then on Jamie's part, he made it. I don't remember if it was just a natural minor or Dorian or something. But his kind of sweeping pad stuff, yeah, changed it a little bit harmonically, and also the texture of it as well.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, I was heading a little more in the lines of what you were originally thinking, which was kind of funny. But when his pads came in, I was like, ooh, oh, we're
Change,
going,
yeah,
changes
we're
the
going,
whole thing.
yeah,
Which is,
yeah,
yeah,
like you said, like it's one of the best parts about working with other people is somebody will hear this. There's four of us, and some of us may have been closer to wavelengths than others, but it's interesting how it can evoke different things from other people creatively.
yeah.
And when they all come together and it works, that's when it's a lot of fun to do collabs.
yes,
So I'll just pull up, since I haven't gotten to my audio to work from this, and I'll have to mess around with the loop back and all that kind of stuff at a later time. But I can at least show the session here. And so had some of the tracks up here. So I just loaded in the separate things. So Marshall's drums and basses. See an ARP from Jamie and a pad. And I don't, and strings. So I know he used his Prophet 12, right? I think he used on it.
I think so.
Or Prophet X.
Or Prophet X. Yeah, one of those. Well, yeah, I guess PX strings would probably be, Prophet 12 and Prophet X would be the two, and a DeepMind 12. So it's at least for Jamie's part. So DeepMind 12 being used for the ARP.
Yeah.
Prophet 12 for that pad, the sound like a sweeping bandpass filter or something, and then the Prophet X strings going through the song. And so kind of as far as the layout goes, on this you can't visually see Tim's parts yet because he hadn't made his yet. And so on here, I started thinking about, there's the ARP going, and there's this nice broad pad. There's a few sections where stuff drops in and out. And so for me, it was like the balance of here's what's already here, and then also Tim is coming soon, so I've got to leave some space for him. And I was thinking about the different parts, so I decided to add a few smaller parts to the song that wouldn't be throughout the whole thing, and see what would come of that. And so because the chords changed with Jamie and that kind of like nice minor, like G minor 7 kind of thing that he was doing, I was like, ooh, this has got a lot of vibe to it. And so I started thinking about a guitar part for it, and I thought that would make it again, as it's kind of got a little more of an electronic music vibe to us. Like, what if I could shift it just a little bit? And so what I had in my mind was like a spy guitar, and so spy guitar. What I would think of, of course, like the original James Bond kind of thing, or
60s kind of
like that oldie song, Secret Agent Man, stuff like that, where it's almost surfy but not as much reverb, but that kind of twangy bridge pickup, heavy strings kind of sound guitar on it. And so I got to working on that, and the couple parts that I came up with was this electric guitar solo that's down here, the lower one in blue, which I played on the lower strings again to kind of have that spy vibe. And then on the outro of the song for the guitar part there is actually just going along with Marshall's bass line. I think it's bass 1 on there. And so it's that kind of heavy bass type thing. Dun, 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 dun. And then there's some variations in there that I remember you had programmed in there. So I sat with it a bit and learned the variations. And then what I did for that part was I actually double tracked it with my Strat. And what am I? So I'm using some Amplitude here. Pull this up. And this is actually kind of a cleaner Mesa Boogie. And what else do I have on here? Just some compression and EQ for the guitar part, but it's a pretty clean guitar part on it. And then, let's see here. I was busting that out to a little more compression in this really cool plugin, which is by Audio thing called Alborosi Dub Station. So like dub reggae. And it's got a filter, which I don't think I'm using too much of the filter or the delay on it, but the spring reverb on there, I have several spring reverbs, and that's kind of, again, to have that kind of 60s twangy vibe to it. But even on these outro guitars, which are meant to be a little bit heavier, I wanted to do the heavier sound, but without distortion, a lot of distortion, which is what you would normally think. I want to kind of keep it in line with this kind of surfier theme of it. So that added on, and then that very last little bit there was just the whammy bar dive. and which one of the surprises for me is that later on, after the song came back from mixing, that part shows up earlier in the song, and it was a great. I was like, oh, look, that Tim had mixed it into another place in there, and then. I'm sorry to talk about this. I just thought it was a cool thing that at the end you hear my kind of clean guitar and I'm doing the whammy bar dive, but then Tim put some stuff underneath it that sounds really cool, and I'll let you talk about that when you come to it. And then the other couple parts here that I had was the piano part, and so the chord changes from Jamie are kind of modulating a little bit. It's not the same pattern every single time. And so as I was thinking about that, I was thinking like, what can I do to, because I got the heavy bass and drums and we got the sweeping pad that's shifting both tonally and melodically shifting, harmonically shifting. So probably what is needed is not more change. It needs to kind of come back and have something that's a little more of a unity or a melody to it. And so I pulled up a piano on here, which I think I just grabbed the Arturia piano, which I don't think I'd ever used before, to be honest. I have some other pianos, and I was checking this out. And then the thing that I did with it was run it through copious amounts of Valhalla Supermassive, which I love and adore and will continue to sing the praises of. So for the piano part, that was it. And then the last part that I had on here would be this lead here. And so on the video, I was trying to figure out what to do because for the video, I mean, you got to have a little performance-y vibe to it. And the thing about recording is it's not that sexy. I was sitting here with my, right here with my controller, like playing the lead line and the piano line and stuff. In my robe, hairy chest sticking out.
You mean you didn't set up a GoPro while you were doing that?
Going full Ron Burgundy on it there. So for the video, I set up and just like, played along to the track, but I had my Cobalt there. So I was like, well, that'll be the piano sound, I guess. And so the scandalous part of my parts is that I really appreciate it because I was not sure if you guys would like the lead, the Moog sounding lead that I did. And I was like, I really like this, but I don't know if the guys will like it as much because it's a little more like, older sounding, I guess. And it's maybe not too hip, but I was like, if you guys don't want to put this in there, that's okay. I no hard feelings. I just wanted to contribute something that I thought would be cool. And so I recorded this and put it through, and then the comments like, oh yeah, the matriarch sounds so good, and the matriarch sounds so good because I was playing the matriarch in the video, and I just before the show I revealed to the guys what it actually was, and on here I had let's see here, so this was actually a plugin. It's the Moog Model 15. And this is a patch that I made just for the song. And so I wanted to really put this Moog sound into to a song. And, I've done stuff with the Matriarch and my one and all that. But it's like, man, I got to get that Model 15 into a song. And it's a great sounding synth. I think it's one of the best sounding software synths out. And so, yeah, that was my thing. I made it up and sat and practiced the lead to it, and it was all played live. I no MIDI drawn or anything. I just did it till I could nail it, and I guess that was about it.
Very impressive, Chris. I was sure that was a matriarch.
Well, I take great delight in that. not in tricking you, but that to show that, you know, I think there's a lot of very snooty cork sniffing in the synth world, and it delights me that we can show that plugins can actually make some really good sounds in 2022.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Killer sounds, yeah. Well, and just Cryss, it's so interesting how to watch to hear the track evolve, and starting with bass, drums, and then Jamie's kind of flavored completely, like you said, pushed it in a different direction that wasn't going to be heavy with that sort of Phrygian kind of heaviness that I kind of imagined. Okay, let's see where that goes. But then once Jamie did his thing, then you responded really well to that rather than forcing anything on it. You were like, no, what would be cool with this? And you found like the perfect vibe, and that secret agent kind of vibe. It was just like, that was brilliant, really, because that thanks. Really made it a song. It really started to take shape and be a thing. So much so, really, that by the time it got to me, I really didn't need to do much of anything. I mean, I could have done probably nothing. You know, like it sounded really cool. And the fact that Cryss, that you added piano and guitar and then that synth lead, I mean, I really could have probably done nothing, but of course I had to find some way to weasel in there. But yeah, it was just great just to watch it. The way that everybody respected everyone else's space, so there could be room enough to do things, and how everybody landed on their feet depending on whatever kind of turn the track took. Everybody was cool to land on their feet and go, right, okay, I see what you're saying, let's do it that way. And without really even discussing it, everyone just did that. So it was highly successful in my brain. I think it turned out just great.
Yeah.
The Napalm saying, you know, the guitar bit tied it together, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
it added a lot more character to the track. I mean, it was good without it, you know what I mean? But now that it's there, I can't imagine it not being there. You know what I mean? And that's how you know that's a really good element that you came up with and added.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think you either. Tim, I don't know. You play guitar, do you?
No.
Okay, me neither. I'm pretty sure Jamie doesn't. So, I mean, if it was just us three, there would have been no guitar at all.
That's right.
Well, Tim plays guitar like I play drums, so.
Yeah, I can play a G chord and a D chord. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, and then so then when I got it, am I up?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, it really was basically done. We kind of discussed maybe just kind of solidifying a couple things about the form of the track, which we kind of goofed with. I kind of goofed with. And then I thought, I need to do some things to the drums to just, you know, keep them from being quite as straight. But of course, the reason they were straight, Marshall, was, again, brilliant on your part, because that gave us something super basic that we could build on. Right. Had you made it more, you know, difficult than that, it could have gotten in the way, I think, frankly.
Yeah, because it was a nice set of samples that I had sequenced in a way that had a good amount of energy, but it wasn't overly complex. Right, and that with a fairly simple arpeggiated bass line, you know, a couple layers, I thought, hopefully this is good. Like, I didn't know what you guys would think or do, and I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, that was perfect. Yeah. So by the time I knew I was the last one to add anything, so then I kind of knew that I could take some liberties because now nobody else is following me, you know, and so I could kind of do a couple things. So I made a couple little drum edits here and there, did a couple little fills, kind of dropped the kick out in a spot or two, you know, just tried to give it a little bit of dynamics now to the track because we had all the parts and I knew what was there, what I could work with. And then I used this data bender by Qubit that's in my Eurorack to kind of mangle up the drums and dirty them up and do some kind of stutter effects on them and whatnot, which kind of gave them almost like fills. And I just let the whole thing run. I just let it run throughout the track. And then I went back and went, all right, where would it be nice? You know, it's not just going to run the whole time. Where would it be cool? And just picked and chose some moments for that. And then I did like a chordal rhythmic thing from Hydrosynth, which you can kind of see me playing that. That was actually a like in the arpeggio section of Hydrosynth. It was like a pattern that's in there that I just played live to the track. And let's see what else is on there. Oh, there's a little bit of Omnisphere. Let me see. I'm now looking at my my Pro Tools session. So yeah, there's a little bit of Omnisphere in there, and then the matriarch at the end. Because you were doing it, Cryss, you made such a meal out of that, which is like that secret agent thing. I'm like, I think I can jump on that with the matriarch playing kind of like a raunchier tone.
Yeah.
And then I sort of found, rather than playing exactly what you played, I just like played a portion of it and did a little pitch bend thing with it. And it seemed to fit real nice with what you were doing. And then that big whammy chord at the end was so much fun to get with. I got matriarch to kind of go right with you there. I played on matriarch just as texture for that, really.
Yeah, I love the texture for it because I remember what I did on it at the end, and it was too stark. But I thought like, well, maybe this is something that can be worked with. But it was very out there, and it really needed something on that last bend. Yeah. And then when it came back, the texture of the stuff that you were doing, so it's like with that in bass line, Marshall's like just dead on bass line, and then the guitars and stereo just like following along, but it's human track, so you got those like just fraction of a millisecond like variations going with it. Then that matriarch part and the bend at the end, I was like, oh, this has so much. It sounds so full and full of texture.
And that really was matriarch. That was actually it. And I had to take a few stabs at getting the pitch bend right, trying to get with you. I really tried to follow your bend on the whammy bar, and just was trying to match that pretty closely. So it took a few tries because I just did it live, until I could get that vibe that you had. So yeah, and then I was able to, I mixed. I wanted to mix. I just thought it would be fun to do the mix. So, that was essentially my contribution.
Well, you definitely pulled it together at the end in terms of the arrangement as well. Like Cryss mentioned, you kind of moved some stuff around that made more sense, I think, in certain spots. The qubit thing was brilliant. It really added some additional spice and layering to the percussion. And that's really something that probably, those little cherries on top, the little extra goodies, the ear candy is always best left to the end anyways.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of been set, and you can kind of fill in what it needs. Brilliant job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was just so exciting to see how it came together, layer by layer, and to do it round robin like that was really fun. Somebody started with the rough idea, then somebody added their part, then it went to the next person, and they could add their part. That was so cool to watch it change direction in so many ways, and because it was it's so wide open when you just hear like a bass and drums track. It could be anything. Yeah. So it was really fun to watch it come together, and everybody just did a great job respecting everyone else's space and everything. It was very cool.
Well, it can get complicated with too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. So I'm glad that it all worked out.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that not only did Tim, you put some incredible parts into the song with what you did musically with the Hydrosynth and the matriarch, but I think the mixing is one of the big elements of the song, and not just mixing, but like Marshall said, the arrangement as well. and that's something that I'm particularly, fond of and cued into. That, like, when somebody can take something and hear the things in the way that they should be, and make all that kind of stuff fit together. That was a very impressive, arrangement and mix that you did with it.
Cool, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. I knew I could make that contribution, because there's most of the parts were there. I found a few parts I could add, but mostly it was like some parts, and then yeah, arrangement. What can we do to kind of give this a real solid form and feel? So yeah, that was fun.
What did you do with the piano part? So I had played the piano into the really big, super massive sound, but there's something that you did that, like, it like frazzles it as it's going on.
Yeah, I ran it through this device called Typhoon, which is another Eurorack thing,
Uh-huh.
and it is like Clouds by Mutable Instruments.
Yeah.
It does the same thing that Clouds does. So it turned kind of your single note stuff into pads. Basically, kind of made pads out of it.
Oh, cool. It's almost
Yeah.
like a infinite reverb freeze kind of thing.
Yeah, it's somewhere between that and granular type.
Granular. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was so I kind of just experimented with your part, just to try to kind of make sure that texture stayed in there, and was part of the fabric in a different way, though. Yeah, that's what it was. It's Typhoon. It's called. So it's like Clouds.
Hmm. So that's really like the nuts and bolts of it and the timeline as well. Let's maybe talk about like why this worked, because this has been, perhaps the easiest collaboration that I've ever done, and I
Yeah.
think there were some things that happened in it that, like, we all commented like, well, this went really well, because collaborations can be notoriously difficult. And so, in your opinions, like, what are some things that we thankfully avoided doing, and what are some of the things that we did do that were good? And in general, like, as people are thinking about their own collaborations, I think, was it Paul that had just said that he was working on a collaboration as well? And as we're thinking about future collaborations, like, what are the things that we can avoid, and what are the things that we can do good or even better?
I think the biggest reason this worked, well, there's two main reasons that this worked with the four of us. One is uh, we're all talented, and that's important. You got to have some skill.
Mhm.
And the other reason is we all respected each other, in that nobody, if there was any kind of issue with anything, there wasn't going to be a big knockdown, drag out fight over it. Most of the time, um, you know, it, there's not a big, it's not four egos like going at it. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I think that can happen sometimes when you get, some guys together to work on some stuff. You get egos get in the way. I
Yeah.
don't think I noticed any of that at all from any of us. So I think that's a huge, huge reason.
I totally agree, and it seemed like I definitely agree with what you're saying, Marshall. And I think the flexibility from everybody,
Yeah.
just to be willing to let it kind of go where it did, and to try to, when it changed and maybe in a way that you didn't anticipate, everybody's ability to redirect their attention to, oh, it's this now, let's work with that. Oh, now it's moved over here, let's get into that. And
Mhm.
rather than forcing any kind of thing on it, so, which definitely would have been an ego driven moment, but in,
Yeah.
instead of that happening, everybody was really great about just morphing with the track and let it just sort of be what it was. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons it's so successful, or the collaboration was so successful, is that nobody forced it to try to be something. It just evolved, and everybody went, yeah, cool, all right, you're going to do that, well, let me try this. And um, trying to make it something musical rather than, no, I heard it this way, it goes this way only,
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's that whole ego part.
yeah. Totally. Totally.
I
Yeah.
think where it seems like in bands that I've been in where sometimes things can go wrong is like everybody thinks that their part is the most important. Like, and to come to it with that kind of mindset, like it is going to really be about this instrument or my part or my vision. And in a situation where there's multiple people, well, that's just not sustainable. And then, like, once something like that enters into the conversation, it seems like things start to spiral out of control because, I mean, essentially we've all showed up to be a team, and then if one person says no, it's got to go this way, and it's my thing, the natural like human reaction to that is like, oh, now I'm on the defensive, and now I've got to protect what's mine, what I put into it, and I got to attack yours so that mine is going to be bigger. And it just seems like those kind of situations spiral out of control and nobody ends up happy at it. And I think maybe one of the advantages, I've been thinking about the psychology of bands and bands that have members that do solo albums. And some bands are like very resistant of that. You cannot do anything else but our band right now. Other bands seem like they're more loose and generous about that. Like, okay, hey, let's take this year off and everybody do their own thing for a while, and we'll come back and we'll get back together and go at it. And, you know, I was watching some interviews with Rick Rubin and the Red Hot Chili Peppers with the latest album that they did. And they had talked about some times in the course of their career where they took breaks. And when it got too much, like they got away for a little while. Sorry, the thing that I'm trying to wrap back around to is like, it's good to have some place where you get to have your own thing. And so like, that's one thing where we've all have that. Like with the way that things have been for the last few years, like I haven't gotten to do much band stuff at all. So I've been sitting in my studio, like, I'm ready to work with somebody else and to get some fresh input and to collaborate. Yeah. And I didn't feel like when I came to this song, and this is where everybody else was like, okay, well, it's not about any of us individually. We can now focus on this other goal of the song and making the song be the thing that matters the most, not the tone of the synthesizer or whatever, but like what is the end of the finished product of this song going to be?
Yeah, what serves the song best, right?
Exactly. And that's what Paul said in the chat, serve the music.
Yeah.
And I think we accomplished that on this. And I was just going to mention with the band dynamic thing, it's a little more difficult when you actually form a group, because at some point the group's going to need an identity, a theme, like they're known for their whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And it's, from what I've seen anyway, with most of the bands, it's usually like one or two people in that group that really decide the direction of that. So that could get, ultimately, and that's probably maybe a good thing. It depends on the dynamic of the band as well. But just as a collaborative thing with just four guys that know each other over the internet, we don't really have that. We don't have to worry about that. We're not going to go play, some big stadium somewhere. So we're just working on the music, and I think that helped. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do a lot of session work here in Nashville, and a lot of these guys that I play with, they've played on, thousands of records, and knowing how to serve the song and how to approach a song without your ego all over it is just so important. That's so much of the thing. And so there's kind of a saying that goes around, which is, save that for your solo record. Because you can smell it a mile away. People know when you're kind of yanking off on the song, and it's like, no, do what the song needs. Come on,
Yeah.
So that's a funny one. You save it for your solo record.
Solo record.
there's that kind of thing of having to prove yourself, which I think experienced musicians and those that have learned how to get along in groups have learned is like, I don't have to prove myself. I have to make good music. That's the most important thing. And I think that's where I've seen younger musicians come into bands, or not necessarily by age. I mean, by experience or the amount you've been playing. I think that's one of the things that perhaps an inexperienced musician would come to a group situation. And I guess not it's just a statement of what is, not what should be. But you come in and perhaps they feel inadequate about the role that they're going to play, and they overcompensate for it. And so they want to like just blow everybody out of the water with, look how great I am. And that doesn't work. You might impress a few people for a few minutes, but then a band is not going to put up with that for very long, or a collaborator, whatever it is not going to put up with that for very long, because it's going to get old.
Yeah, and like Tim said, save that for your solo album.
Yeah.
The thing is that in the electronic music space, especially, I'm in my studio by myself all the time. I don't really work with other people, so that it can be difficult sometimes to come from a space where you're used to doing everything and giving up some of this and some of that as well, And we just seem to have found us four like a decent balance, and none of us really tried to steal the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now I'm excited to see where this next one goes, because since we're building another one, so this is going to be fun to see. I'm hoping that if we sort of repeat the same general process, I feel like that we'll have success again.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's already headed in a different direction musically, and that's kind of fun to see, because we've watched this project go all the way through, and it's like, well, that's a cool sound. What would a second song sound like, even?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of this right now. Like, man, I've heard the basic tracks. I know where it's headed. Or, well, for the moment, I know where it's headed.
Right. Well,
and I'm looking. Yeah, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And the fact that Marshall kicked it off with his vibe on this first one we did, and then now I've kicked this next one off. It's just going to necessarily have a different flavor, and it's going to be really fun to see how it evolves. Like I tried to do the same thing and leave it very open, and just kind of see, because it could go a lot of different ways. So that's going to be part of the fun.
I gotta hand it to you, Marshall, because the way that you did that really showed a great deal of restraint musically and a collaborative spirit, and to have that kind of thing where you're going to leave this big giant space open, but then also deliver the parts that you delivered, which sounded amazing. But it left it Tim's already been talking about this, but the way that it set the stage for everything else that happened was brilliant.
Well, and I didn't want to force it into too tight of a hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to, because my thing is not that. Like, I've played around with some electronic genres and stuff, but my passion is completely different. So, but I know that not everyone necessarily is going to think like that or want to do that. And so I wanted to make something that was pretty broad and could be interpreted a lot of ways. I was almost like concerned maybe it was too simple, and you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know even if what I was giving you guys was adequate. So, but it turned out to be the right move, I think. And you guys, like I said, you guys took it to the moon, man. It was super impressive.
Go ahead. No, I was just agreeing. It was the perfect first move. Like, it just set the tone perfectly.
Yeah, I felt like in a way, well, perhaps Jamie and I had the easier parts in this, and as far as the process goes, because that first part is really tough, and then when everything is already most of the way there, to come and finish it up and make everything fit together. Those end pieces are really the most important. And then, we kind of got to sit inside of that and have some fun and playfully create without as much of the pressure, because Marshall, with you starting the first track and Tim starting the second track, that's where for me anyway, that's where a lot of the pressure would be.
Well, see, and I kind of feel the opposite way. I feel like starting it off was the easy part. You guys had the hard part of finishing it. Because I could make a bass line and percussion and make that sound pretty good, I think. But like filling it out, making it a full thing that makes sense. Yeah, you guys did excellent work.
So much fun. And we get to do another one. So there you go. Yeah, I'm glad everybody was into that idea. I really am. It turned out cool. I can imagine us, getting a groove on with this and making a record. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be great.
Just it'd be our little side project. We need to call it something, but probably not Team US.
And rotating some of it's kind of like a Chinese fire drill with music production at the same time, because we're kind of shifting who's doing what on the second one. And if we did do a third one, I think we should kind of keep up that routine and kind of move the pieces around, so to speak, and see what we get each time.
Well, so speaking of that, who goes next?
Uh-oh.
So I threw my stuff out there. Who wants to run with it?
Oh yeah. Who's well, I'm probably gonna start working on some stuff for it tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And possibly through at least part of the weekend. I know it's 4th of July this weekend, but
oh right, yeah.
Is it this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's Monday or a
Monday.
week.
Yeah. So
right, yeah.
Yeah, but I should be able to throw some stuff together. I don't know. I think it's just whoever gets done with something first. I don't think
So
really
what
pick a person, right?
Well, I think on the last one we did say, here, let's do it in this order, and because that way two different people aren't working it on two different
At the
thoughts.
same time. That's a good point.
So you don't waste your time that way, in case they're completely different because you're not knowing what the other person's doing. I think the additive way was cool.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're working on something, Marshall, keep going.
Well, I haven't yet, but I was going to start tomorrow.
Yeah, what I was thinking. So, Tim set up the groove. Do we want to tell people the theme of it?
Sure.
Or do we want to keep that till later?
No, I think we can totally let that out.
Yeah.
So the theme of it is just celebrating Dave Smith and his legacy to synthesizers, and so we decided to do it with as many sequential and DSI instruments as we could under that umbrella. And so we came up with a list of what we had, and then which is quite a number of duplicates, because we love that stuff so much. So there was, I think, 3 Prophet 10s available and 3 OB6s and whatnot. So what we ended up doing is kind of dividing up the instruments, and then I have a buddy that has some sequential gear. I have an OB6, but he let me borrow his Prophet 10. The Prophet 6 I got in front of me is I made a sound set on it, and the Tempest, the DSI Tempest, and also, well, there you can see the Prophet 10 back there, and this, I'll show it up a little closer here, is my window. Yeah, there we go. Is a sequential tom. So what I've been doing, I was thinking well, if Marshall's working on some of the more synthy parts on it, Tim came up with the full drum part already, and had some Tempest samples that he just put together a rough sketch. So we thought, well, what if we took some of the MIDI and actually ran it through a Tempest? And so I've been playing around with just getting some raw tracks of just Tim's already worked out drum parts, and I'm gonna. I've been working on this, and I might do a couple more re-recordings and playing around with settings and stuff, and then also check out maybe something on the tom as well. So I was like, maybe I can do some of this right now while somebody else is filling in the rhythm stuff, and then if Jamie wants to put something in next and or whatever, well, I guess we'll figure it out from there. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'll work great. Yeah, because that'll be kind of like that'll just be elevating the drums, basically, Cryss. And that'll which they need. They're super bland right now, on purpose.
yeah, well, the drum parts are great. It was just the samples. Although when I sent you those clips, those short clips, I forgot I had left. I have IK Multimedia's ARC, which is room correction, and I had left it engaged on the master bus. So I sent them over, and I listened to them, like, oh, dang it. Like, I've been doing all this hard work, like, no, that's not quite how it sounded.
Well, it sounded cool, though, I must say. So,
Well, and I'm excited to get the chance to really dig into some of my sequential gear because, to be honest, like I haven't really touched any of it. I've done a little bit with Prophet 10 with a live jam that I worked on. And then I have a Prophet 08 that I bought maybe a month or so before the Prophet 10 that I really want to dig into that thing. I've wanted one of those for years, and it's one of those things where I always wanted one, but then like another synth would come out that I wanted more, so I just never got.
Yeah.
It took me years to finally pick one up. But I've always been super interested in that synth, so I can't wait to. This will be a great excuse to really kind of dig into those.
definitely, yeah.
That's something we can do.
I'm excited to think about it as a tribute to Dave Smith, and just to use all sequential stuff. I think I'm excited about that. I'm happy we're doing that. I think that's a cool thing, and God, what a worthy thing to do, because
Great instruments. I mean,
all those instruments are incredible. It's just amazing the work he did. So yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we're about an hour and a half in here. Are we gonna wrap up?
Let's
I
do
think
it.
we're wrapping.
That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching us. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm not sure what our topic is going to be next week, but we'll post something, I'm sure, online. And be sure to like and comment, subscribe.
And also, there's a Facebook group set up for Thru Port Collective on Facebook. If you want to come join us, there's not too many of us, but we like to talk about some of these topics during the week, as well as, commenting about new gear that's coming out and fun stuff like that.
Right on, gents.
All right. Well, everyone have a good night then.
Signing off. Yeah, have a good one, guys.
So long, everybody. Thanks for being here. Yeah.